Have you ever seen something so advanced that it makes you rethink what's even possible?
Oh, yeah.
It's like a glimpse into the future, and you wonder how they even did it.
Definitely makes you think about all the technological leaps involved.
Well, that's kind of the feeling around this new aircraft announcement we want to dive into today.
Okay, sounds interesting.
So it's President Trump announcing that Boeing's been chosen to build the F-47 fighter jet for the U.S. Air Force.
The F-47?
Yeah. And we're basing this deep dive on reporting from Fox News.
All right.
What we really want to do here is go past just the headlines,
Right.
We want to understand what this announcement really means, like the details.
Yeah.
What they're implying about its capabilities when they call it next generation, plus the whole program it fits into and all the different perspectives that are being recorded.
So basically trying to get a full picture of what this could mean for air power down the line.
Exactly.
Okay.
So let's jump right in. The main event is the announcement itself.
All right.
President Trump made this statement from the Oval Office.
Oh, wow.
Which is a pretty important setting, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And he had Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Air Force Chief of Staff Gen David Alvin right there with him.
Okay, so they're really emphasizing this.
Exactly. It's not just another Tuesday,
Right.
And then the way President Trump talked about it was really something.
How so?
He straight up called the F-47 the world's first sixth-generation fighter jet.
Wow.
Didn't stop there either. Called it the most advanced, most capable, most lethal aircraft ever built.
That's a bold claim.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
So to you, what does sixth generation even mean? Like, what makes it different from the jets we have now?
That's the key question. When we say sixth generation, we're talking about a massive jump from what we have now with fifth gen aircraft.
Like our current top-of-the-line stuff.
Exactly. So fifth gen is all about stealth,
Right.
But sixth gen wants to take that even further.
Right.
It's about better connectivity. So these jets can work seamlessly with everything else in the air and even in space. Maybe even directed energy weapons, even more advanced stealth, like using electronic warfare, and a lot of AI to help the pilot.
So it's not just about going fast and dodging missiles.
No, it's way more than that. It's about controlling information and being adaptable.
That makes sense. And President Trump went on to say nothing in the world comes even close to it.
Yeah.
And that America's enemies will never see it coming.
Strong words.
Yeah, it's clearly meant to show American air power,
Of course.
But what do you make of that kind of language?
Oh, it's definitely powerful, but you got to remember technology changes fast.
Right.
Other countries are investing a ton in their own military tech. So even if the F-47 is ahead right now, staying ahead means never stopping the innovation.
It's a constant race.
Exactly.
Yeah, one thing that stood out to me was President Trump saying the contract went to Boeing after a rigorous and thorough competition.
Okay, so it wasn't just handed to them.
Sounds like there were other companies fighting for this.
That's normal for big defense projects like this.
Wait.
They want to make sure they're getting the absolute best tech, so they have to compare different proposals.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
What's that?
He mentioned that an experiential version of the F-47 has secretly been flying for almost 5 years.
Whoa, hold on. 5 years of secret test flights.
Yeah. Think about what that means.
That's a lot of time to be developing and testing in secret.
Right.
It tells me the design and the tech behind it are probably pretty solid by now.
Yeah.
They must have put a ton of money and resources into this without anyone knowing.
And keeping it quiet keeps it away from their rivals, too.
Exactly.
But the report also mentioned an image of the F-47 shown during the announcement.
Interesting.
We don't have details about the design, but what can you tell from just looking at a new aircraft?
Even without the specs, the way it looks can tell you a lot about what it's supposed to do and the tech they used.
Like how?
Well, the shape can hint at whether it's meant for stealth or speed.
Okay.
The number of places for weapons can give you an idea of its firepower.
So it's our first visual clue about what it can do.
Yeah, for the public and for anyone else who might be interested.
So that's the announcement itself. Now let's see how Boeing reacted to getting this huge contract.
All right.
Steve Parker, the interim president and CEO of Boeing Defense, Space and Security, put out a statement.
Okay.
He talks about how ready Boeing is and called it the most significant investment in the history of our defense business to get ready for this.
That's a big statement.
Shows you how seriously they're taking this.
Yeah, it's not just another contract for them.
Right. And Parker specifically said they're dedicated to providing the most advanced and innovative NGAD aircraft.
So, like we talked about before, F-47 isn't just a single plane, it's part of this bigger NGAD program.
Right. So what exactly is NGAD and why should people care about it?
NGAD stands for Next Generation Air Dominance.
Catchy.
It's the Air Force's big plan to develop the next level of air superiority tech.
Okay.
But it's not just about one new jet. It's a whole system.
Like what?
It could include manned fighters like the F-47, but also drones, advanced sensors, new weapons.
With a total approach.
Exactly. NGAD is about staying dominant in the air because air warfare is changing really fast.
And this is where the reporting gets a little bit more complex.
How so?
It says that the NGAD program was paused under the Biden administration.
That sounds like a pretty big change.
Yeah, and Defense Secretary Hegseth is quoted saying the Biden administration was prepared to potentially scrap it.
So they were maybe thinking about getting rid of it completely?
Seems like a major disagreement about whether NGAD was even necessary.
Yeah, maybe they wanted to go in a totally different direction.
But the report also has a statement from the Air Force Public Affairs Secretary, and they have a different take on it.
Oh, really?
They said there was a strategic pause in May 2024.
Okay.
But it was to ensure it was making the right decision.
So more like a reassessment.
They also say they kept working with industry during this pause to aggressively mature critical technologies and accelerate innovation.
So not giving up, just taking a step back.
What do you make of these different explanations about what happened with NGAD?
Well, it shows you how complicated these big defense programs can be, especially when you have different people in charge.
Right.
A strategic pause sounds like they wanted to make the program better, but the idea of scrapping it makes it seem like they thought the whole thing was a bad idea.
So lots of different opinions floating around.
Yeah, and it reminds us that these advanced technologies are often caught up in political changes and different strategies.
It's not just about the tech itself.
Exactly.
Now, another interesting thing the report brought up was information from Axios.
Okay.
They say that NGAD is planning to have these 6th-gen fighters work together with robotic wingmen.
Robotic wingmen.
Yeah, developed by Anduril Industries and General Atomics.
So drones working alongside the manned fighters.
That's the idea, and it could completely change air combat.
It could really.
What are the possibilities you see with this?
Well, it could make missions a lot more flexible. You could send the drones into really dangerous situations that you wouldn't want to risk a pilot for, like going into heavily defended areas or attacking multiple targets at once.
And the drones wouldn't get tired or make human mistakes.
Exactly. It could also lead to totally new tactics.
Like what?
Imagine swarms of drones attacking or acting as decoys to protect the main fighter.
That sounds pretty intense.
It would be a big change. But it also brings up questions about who's really in control.
Right.
How much autonomy will these drones have? And there are some serious ethical issues about using AI to make life or death decisions.
It's not just cool tech. It's a whole new way of fighting.
Definitely.
So zooming out a bit, what are the bigger strategic implications here?
Well, Hegseth said that bringing NGAD back sends a clear message to America's allies.
Which is?
That the U.S. is still committed to their defense, and it tells their enemies that they can project power anywhere in the world for a long time to come.
It's about showing strength and making sure everyone knows it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a key part of maintaining alliances and discouraging potential adversaries.
And General Alvin said the F-47 represents what peace through strength looks like in the future, and that it'll be crucial for deterrence. So basically, the idea that a strong military can actually prevent wars.
Right.
How does a super advanced jet like the F-47 play into that for you?
Deterrence is all about convincing your opponents that attacking you would be a really bad idea.
They won't even try because they know they'll lose.
Exactly. And a jet like the F-47 with all its advanced capabilities makes any attack seem pointless or just too costly.
So it's not about wanting to fight. It's about preventing fights from happening in the first place.
Precisely. That's a big reason why countries invest in these cutting-edge technologies.
Now, one last thing the report mentioned was a comment from LT General David Depula.
Okay.
He said the F-47 is the winner over similar Chinese technology.
Interesting.
The article doesn't go into detail, but it implies that there's a global competition going on here.
For sure.
What do you think people should take away from that little comparison?
It tells us that a lot of countries are trying to develop these sixth-generation fighters, and the U.S. thinks it's ahead.
But we don't really know for sure.
Yeah, without more info, it's hard to say how accurate that statement is, but it definitely reminds you that these advancements aren't limited to just one country.
It's a global race.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's recap everything for our listeners.
Right.
We started with President Trump announcing the F-47, saying it's the first sixth-generation fighter in the world.
With amazing capabilities.
Right. Then we looked at Boeing's reaction and how committed they are to this project. And we know it's a big part of the overall NGAD program.
We also dug into the history of NGAD, including that strategic pause and all the different opinions about what happened.
And then the idea of the F-47 working with robotic wingmen. That's a whole other level.
It really gives you a glimpse into the future of air combat.
And we talked about the bigger picture. You know, how the F-47 is supposed to project power, reassure allies, and deter enemies.
Right. Plus, that expert comment shows us that this isn't just a U.S. thing, it's a global competition.
So to wrap up, I want to leave you with a thought to consider.
Okay.
With technology changing so fast in areas like AI stealth and directed energy, what will a sixth-generation fighter like the F-47 need to stay ahead in the next few decades?
That's a good question.
And how will air dominance itself change as these new technologies become more powerful and widespread?
It's definitely something to think about.
It's clear that this announcement is just the beginning of a really interesting and complex story.
I agree.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and we'll see you next time.
See you later.
Bye.